Hey guys, Sure Midget here. So I have another Polymer 80 build to do a video on. So this is the single stack. They call it the PF9SS. Essentially what it is a Glock 43. Obviously this is the type of box that it comes in, typical for the Polymer 80s. And here it is. So this is a custom build of mine. I will go ahead and go over the parts and the holster and everything that I use. But for a while, for my everyday carry, pretty much what I've been using is a Springfield 911. Now this is a pretty much aluminum frame, steel slide. It's a 380 though. I was wanting to do a 9mm, a little bit more power to it. Obviously going to be a little bit bigger of a footprint on size-wise, but I wanted to keep something thin because the job that I do is basically pretty much outside most of the time. Constantly moving around. I don't sit at a desk at all. So I'm out in the field, if you will. This Springfield 911 has been a dream. It feels like having a phone strapped on my hip. I just use a holster for it in the waistband, hard shell Kydex holster. I'm not a Glock fanboy or anything. Typically Glock triggers are kind of poop in my opinion. Most people would agree. This trigger on this is a single action. So it's typically a lot better. What is it? Probably a maybe 5-pound trigger, which for an everyday carry isn't bad. I'd say the Glock here is probably a 6-pound trigger. But it's more mushy, you know, doesn't have quite the short reset that the Springfield 911 has. So first off, I want to start with the holster that I got. I got the black Scorpion Gear hard shell holster. It is the carbon fiber pattern. Now, when I first got this holster, I actually had problems with it. Essentially, my Glock would not fit it. So what I ended up doing was taking out the screws. Basically, it was just clamshelled too hard. So I ended up basically using a longer screw, and then I put a nut on there and a washer just to kind of not mar up the finish. And it works just fine. So I have more adjustment, basically room for adjustment, so it's not so tight. Starting with the frame, again, it is the Glock 43 P80 frame. It is in the color gray. Now this frame is pretty cool. The magazine catch on the Glock 43s are a little bit bigger. It doesn't stick out much, but it sticks back further. It's more like the Gen 5 Glocks, which is really nice in my opinion. I really like this magazine catch. And the same thing with the slide lock. So for my PF940, the Glock 19, and my other one that I built, essentially I had to modify the frame a little bit on those, and the Glock 17s are the same way. The slide lock, at least the kits that I purchased, they didn't spring down quite enough, and they would lock back sometimes on their own. Well, this uses a completely different slide lock. In fact, I can show you here, I have a spare. So it uses a completely different slide lock than any of the other Glocks. And so I did not have any problems with this slide lock whatsoever. Now for the lower parts kit, including the mag catch and the slide lock, I'm pretty sure it was made by KMT. Now the trigger is stock. It is clear. It's got the trigger safety on it, so if you don't pull the front portion, it's not going to fire. But it's a stock Glock trigger. So onto the slide, I did purchase a AIM Surplus upper parts kit, and it did come with the metal spring guide here. I'm not sure what poundage this is, but as you can see, it's like a dual. In fact, it may be, I think it's a dual or triple. There's only 2 springs in there, so dual spring guide. It is completely metal, even the rod there, and that's kind of important. I do not want to build a custom-built Glock and use this plastic spring guide. I'm just not going to do that. I always use stainless steel. And then the barrel that I used, I'm not going to be able to pull it all the way out because I have this tight, really tight. In fact, I think I blew Loctited that. The barrel is an Alpha Wolf. It's threaded barrel. It is actually 3.98 inches. It is almost 4 inches. Now, believe it or not, this barrel is actually the same length as the Glock 19 barrel that I built. And I did that on purpose. I got a threaded barrel, but I'm not planning on actually adding anything to the front. I did it because the barrel is actually rifled to the end. So I'm getting like an extra full inch of barrel because I decided to go with the threaded. That basically allows me to get a little bit extra velocity on my ammo, which is important for hollow points to expand. So I think I did a good job there, and very happy with that. Again, the parts kit for the top, the slide, like the firing pin and everything, is made by AIM Surplus. Now the back plate that I ended up getting is the Betsy Ross. It's a custom one. I believe they called it Flamed. The slide on here is Excalibur Precision, I believe is what it's called. I purchased it on eBay, believe it or not. But it's got ports all along the front on both sides, just smaller ports, just so I can kind of see the fluting on the barrel. And then the back portion, the back slide serrations are kind of not too deep, but it's not too hard to get a hold of, but especially up here, it's really easy to get a hold of because of the cuts and the ridges and everything. The color is a battle-worn tungsten, is what the description on this slide was, and it looks dope in my opinion. Now the sights that I got are AmeriGlow tritium sights for the Glock 43. Here's the box. I think these were about 70, 80 bucks. Very worth it. They're white, and then they glow in the dark tritium. In terms of magazines, I purchased ETS magazines. There is an extended 12-rounder, which doesn't have any plastic on the bottom, so my finger kind of has to rest on the mag. And the only reason why this holds 12 rounds is because this is single stack, like I said earlier. So it's kind of long, but you only get 12 rounds in there. This is basically just for the range. I'm not going to use that much, just at the range. And then I purchased an ETS 9-round magazine and an X grip on it. I purchased 2 of these, so I got one in my car, and then one is going to be for carrying. And as you can see, it does have the X grip, so when I put the mag in, I can get my pinky on there just fine. It is absolutely perfect in terms of grip. In fact, it could be a hair shorter and be just fine. Now the magazine holds 9, but I only load 8 and then 1 in the chamber, so I underload my initial magazine because ETS magazines are kind of hit or miss, and they're also very tight. If you put that 9th round in there, it is super tight, and when you put the mag in, it'll push up on the slide, it'll push the rounds down, and it's just super tight. So essentially what I wanted to do for reliability is underload it by 1, so there's a little extra space for it to push down when I carry this thing every day. So I'm still gonna get 9 because I'll keep 1 in the chamber. So in terms of the cartridge that I'm using, it is the Hornady FTX. This is the defense, not the duty, so it's 115 grain. I used 115 grain because it is a short barrel. I want to get velocity rather than just weight, just a hair above 1100 feet per second. The 380 I use is 90 grain, and it's about 900 feet per second out of this length barrel. This is a 2.5, or it's like 2 and a 2.7. So we are seeing about 200 feet per second difference between the 9mm and the 380, and it's, what, 25 grains heavier, so a little bit heavier of a round. All right, brought the Glock 43 out here after fixing it. Kit that I had purchased, the extractor broke, so I purchased a OEM Glock brand. So hopefully it's stronger. The old one literally just cracked and literally flew out of the gun. I'm gonna be trying this Gecko 115 grain 9mm for the first time. Haven't tried this stuff yet. Now I'm going to try Get Load. This is steel case 115 grain. It is lacquer coated, so it's nice and smooth case.